My name is Zachary Conan, and if you enjoy this video, give it a like. It actually helps out a lot over here. And if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to subscribe to my channel to check out some more of my videos. I really love The Terminator. James Cameron first saw the T-101 in a fever dream. Such musings can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Cameron is a uniquely intelligent filmmaker, and his mental capacity might be boundless. His original treatment of the Terminator reads like perfect prose. His finished film unfolds like a nightmare. It is his masterpiece. This and Aliens. I can never decide which one is better, The Terminator or Aliens. Depends on which one I've watched and how recently I saw it. They jockey back and forth for distinguished positions. Cameron's nightmarish fable is fodder for action junkies and sci-fi purists alike. The Terminator is leveled dreamscapes, one hell of a science fiction film, modestly budgeted, and wholly apomorphic. It's a film you can get lost inside of. Escapist cinema at its most refined. The Terminator works as the template for all things to come, gritty, stylized, and focused. The Terminator is a great film. James Cameron creates a new visual style with The Terminator, affectionately referred to as tech noir. Cameron describes his film, The Terminator, as a night film. Tech noir is a graphic approach that works wonders for the atmosphere of the piece. Dirty heroes, dirtier villains, filthy worlds, moody wastelands. The way that the silver metal anatomically imitates and parodies fragile human forms and bones cast against a capricious robe of shadows and muck, or the relentlessness of the demonic red laser eye of the T-101 as it scans a volatile world as a means to complete a vicious task, a vicious purpose, a vicious bit of programming. The Terminator is the action film gone visually aesthete, a precursor to the wonderfully, that wonderful neo-noirization of the sci-fi world to come. Only in the Terminator do we find the dreamlike dread swallowing. Cameron's physicality and personality dictates the tone and molds it into one of a fever dream, like a myth told by a crying mother or a renegade fable. And I also love, just to speak off the cuff for a moment, all tech noir films are almost, on account of their definition being tech noir, are also deconstructions of traditional film noir, or even more interestingly, they are deconstructions or postmodern approaches to neo-noir. It's a complete upheaval of it, because there's a part of film noir that is deeply conservative, and I'm not speaking politically, I am speaking characteristically. I'm speaking of its heroes. Its heroes are these very specific kind of men, and even in neo-noir, in some tech noirs, your hero will most often be someone who is disenchanted or jaded, in part because of the technology around him and the kind of cyberpunk landscape that he occupies. And so to put your character into a world that is completely dictated by technology, that it is so far in the future, so advanced, so unrecognizable, and for some reason the more advanced film comes, the more advanced these film worlds are, the less masculine or the more emasculated it fixes its characters to be. And film noir is about masculation. There are themes of male humiliation, but only on account of a character who is deeply masculine. So tech noir, Blade Runner, but the Terminator most specifically, is a deconstruction of neo-noir as well, and a postmodern approach to noir and science fiction. And James Cameron's subjectivity was a conscious design and a very effective choice in visual storytelling. Points of view possess traits unique to themselves. The entire film is composed of juxtaposed subjectivity, whether it be the sterile scope of the T-101, the frantic posturing of the desperate mother, or the stoic haplessness of our troubled hero. Cameron's visual subjectivity is key to the emotional development of his characters, and the door from which ethos is granted entry. This is an amazingly well-developed style, and Cameron works it like a veteran for it being so early in his career. I mean, at this point, the most impressive thing that he had done was a bit of design on Escape from New York, which he did wonderfully, by the way. Most certainly, John Carpenter's most astute pupil was James Cameron, and James Cameron, I would argue, surpassed his mentor, John Carpenter. But Escape from New York wouldn't have been the same without him. But the Terminator, oh my lord, you, a genius, a genius. James Cameron is a genius, whether or not a lot of art house or kind of elitist film fans want to admit it. He's an absolute genius. The sheer talent displayed by the expertly realized subjectivity affords Cameron a kind of mythical status in terms of visual mastery of genre or blockbuster filmmaking. Cameron's seamless subjectivity is augmented by a relentless understanding of exposition in the face of an atmospheric dilemma. Cameron never even so much as taps his foot on the brake. The pace is intensified by the expository information divulged solely by Kyle Reese as a result of Reese's subjectivity as a fundamental extremity of his character. Even the pacing is amplified by exposition. You don't see that, except with Masters. Speaking of Kyle Reese, let's talk briefly about one of the greatest sci-fi heroes ever written. I love Reese. His doomed complexities, haplessness, and courage make for an empathic display of pathos. It's easy to identify with Reese's dilemmas, and his obviously damned function is something worth getting lost in. Michael Baine's best and most overlooked exercise in his many flirtations with the action genre is The Terminator. Kyle Reese is a perfect hero for tech noir. I think he is the best hero ever in tech noir. Take that, Deckard. I would say that Reese is the tech noir archetype and essential to its evolution as a visual style. And now the T-101. The hell can you say about the T-101? Arnold Schwarzenegger earned his spot in the Hall of Legends here. He was villainous as all hell and scary as absolute. What a great villain. What a mythic portrayal. Arnold as the bad guy is simply horrifying. What a perfect idea. Unstoppable and perfect. One of the greatest villains ever dreamed up. And Linda Hamilton was strong and restrained. She worked 2 levels of subjectivity. Her own and the viewer's naivety as visually rendered by Cameron. Sarah Connor is a strong woman, albeit frail at first. Her arc is the one true path of logos that Cameron offers. It's potent enough to carry the entire weight of the film. The Terminator is a super great film. It is a classic in its own right and a real beauty. Tech noir as perfect cinema. Great everything. Great film. I honestly love Arnold Schwarzenegger in this film. Perfect casting. It's one of those performances that is beyond legendary to the point where I despair to imagine cinema without Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is very odd for me to say considering the majority of the kind of films that I cover on this channel are art house, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is seemingly the antithesis of that. But I would hate to imagine modern movies without that guy, without that man. Without his performance, specifically in the first 2 Terminator films. They didn't just express my childhood. They don't just encapsulate my childhood. I believe that they completely redefined an entire genre, and that genre being film noir, bringing film noir into the science fiction landscape, and by proxy of doing that, bringing it into the modern world, the postmodern world, to be precise. Tech noir was invented by very strict lines of Ridley Scott and Philip K. Dick, of Paul Verhoeven, and James Cameron. I think James Cameron is the most important one to be included here. It has since gone on to be one of the most complicated and, constantly successful genres as well. it's a very interesting kind of toy box of symbols, of metaphors, and of ideas, of concepts, really, that just seem boundless. People are finding so many things in there. That the X-Files and Star Trek are also included into this batch as well. At least the more inventive writers of Star Trek are. This is a wonderful little sandbox. And it's thanks to people like James Cameron for making it such an amazing and well-defined genre. Because that's what's important about the Terminator. It defined it perfectly. It did all of the pioneering in one single film. And James Cameron invented this new genre and kind of walked away from it. Because T2 is not a tech noir. T2 is not a noir in the slightest. The Terminator was his only true tech noir film. And the master mastered it. The master invented it. The master dreamt it. And then the master woke up